Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Keeping Up with the Windsors. My name is Michelle.
And I'm Rachel.
I don't know why I said it like that then. My name is Michelle. It's Michelle Royal Community. Welcome to the podcast. How's your week been, Rach?
Yeah, good. A lot going on as usual. But yeah, so much to talk about. And we have had some lovely messages and reviews lately, haven't we, Shell?
It's been mind-blowing. So thank you so much. If you have reviewed the podcast or you come over to Instagram and sent us a DM, we thought we'd read some out today, Rach.
Yeah, so we had one over on Instagram from Chrissy McAdoo. Hopefully I said that right, Chrissy. And she said, just so enjoy y'all's podcast. I'm sorry, whenever I say
love y'all's,
I love it. An American accent. I so enjoy y'all's podcast. Sorry.
You don't do the whole thing in American accent, Rach.
I think we would be the best neighbour friends. Keep the great content coming.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Chrissy. That's brilliant. We had over on our Apple podcast, we had Joan Gold. Thank you, Joan, for reviewing the podcast and leaving 5 stars. Joan said, I love listening to the podcast. This is real reporting on the Royals. Well done, thorough and respectful. I'm so happy that I found it. Keep up the great work, ladies.
Oh,
thanks so much, Joan. Honestly, it's blood, sweat and tears on our end, but we do it for you. Promise we do.
We also had another review from El Crez, and they said, hello from Chicago. I love the podcast, Michelle and Rach. Yay, thank you. I have a long commute and look forward to listening each week. You're my favourite pod. So glad to have found you. This really is the best Royals podcast around. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Like I say, we do it for you, Royal Community. It is a labour of love. It takes a lot of time, but we're here every week giving you the Keeping Up with the Windsors news. I'm going to finish off with Lucy Dallawater. She wrote, this poddy makes me smile so much, even when they're having a teary over sad moments. I know we did have a lot of those recently, didn't we, Rach?
It's been a very emotional month, hasn't it?
It has. And she says, my royal fan friends in my ears all the way over in Australia. Thanks, ladies. Well, Lucy, this is for you. Thank you so much for listening and reviewing the podcast. It's so much appreciated.
Yeah, we appreciate every single review, every single listen. Yeah, keep the reviews coming because, as we always say, it really helps so more people get to see and hear and listen to the podcast, and we get more people involved with the royal community.
Absolutely. There's 2 little side notes we have to say. Tonight, we're doing our VIP Royal Community Zoom call. If you want to be part of the membership, you can over on Ko-fi, K-O-F-I. It's £4 or $6. And we get to talk all things royal, don't we, Rach?
Yeah, we absolutely love it because there's people from America, Germany. We have a right old chinwag, don't we?
We do have a chinwag. So this is one of our monthly calls. I'm really excited about that. And then next week, I will be on holiday, Royal Community.
And honestly, Royal Community, we have...
We're so excited.
An amazing episode for you. Like, honestly, Michelle and I, we cannot wait for you to hear this episode.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's with Catherine from the Royal Jewellery Box. We're talking all things royal jewels, Royal Community. I'm talking royal engagement rings, brooches, earrings, coronation crowns, tiaras, you name it. We're going to talk about it, and it was amazing to talk to Catherine. So that's coming up for you next week. And then the week after will be our regular scheduling. So let's get on with the Royal Roundup for this week. Let's start then, Rach. We got the Prince and Princess of Wales. They took part in an event with Core Coach, which celebrates its 10th anniversary. The organisation supports disadvantaged young people through sports coaching apprenticeships, education and activities in local communities. This was started by the Royal Foundation back in 2012 to contribute towards the legacy of the London Olympic and Paralympic Games. And what I loved about this in particular is in William's speech, he actually mentioned that 8 million young people have used Core Coach, and how amazing it is. And it is a legacy of the Olympics, isn't it?
It really is. And we got to see William doing a bit of boxing, didn't we?
He was boxing. But the most important thing is, you know you're royal when you rock up to a sports hall with a Chanel jacket, right?
A vintage Chanel jacket.
Absolutely. I mean, come on.
Loved the popper blue. Really loved that look on Catherine. So let's move on to the Queen Consort. This week we saw her as patron of Safe Lives and visiting the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, which aims to provide domestic abuse survivors access to confidential confidential advice and support. Her Majesty had a private meeting with people who have used the service and was even pictured with an adorable newborn baby. And what I really enjoyed about this engagement, it came across as quite informal. Camilla was having a cup of tea with the new mum, but also what's really important is there was parts of meetings that weren't shown on camera because they were private meetings. And this just goes to show the Queen Consort's continued passion and support for organisations such as Safe Lives.
Yeah, she's been working with Safe Lives for such a long time, hasn't she?
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting, isn't it, how much the royals do actually visit their charities. And I think with Safe Lives, it is one that's very core to her messaging. And one of those is domestic abuse survivors. So we're going to stay with the Queen Consort, right? There was this amazing photo released of her with Paddington bears.
Oh, this was amazing.
So, royal community, Paddington has become even more famous, surpassing her beloved corgis. Now, we saw this, didn't we? When we went to Buckingham Palace to lay flowers down for Her Majesty the Queen, we saw just so many Paddington bears, and also people had made marmalade sandwiches.
They had to tell people not to bring them because they were bringing out all the rats, weren't they?
We're giving their tributes as well. But these teddy bears, they were left in tribute for Queen Elizabeth, but they're finding new homes with Bernardo's Children's Services. Now, the Queen Consort is patron of Bernardo's, which is amazing. The photo was taken at Clarence House on the 64th anniversary of the publication of the first Paddington book. I mean, come on, synergy. We love it.
I absolutely loved this. Absolutely loved it. I think it was such a great picture. And yes, so fantastic that these bears will find new homes with children that will really appreciate them and love them.
I know. Oh, adorable.
The King and Queen Consort visited Project Zero, which is an organisation which gets kids off the streets and into an environment where they can be creative, whether that be music production, boxing and coding. And they even watched a performance of a song from the musical Hairspray. Did you see this, show?
No, I didn't. I missed this one. What was it all about, Rach?
Oh, so it's a really, really great organisation, as I said, to get kids off the streets and to get them more involved in local communities. And the performance of Hairspray, these kids were going for it. I was loving it myself, watching it.
Oh, I love it.
And what was so funny is just before they went to this engagement, the King met some school kids, and this one little boy went, "How old are you, King Charles?" and he replied, "Have a guess."
What did the kids say? 102.
Well, he kind of like moved on and he was talking to the teachers and he was like, "Did you have a good summer holiday?"
Oh, I love small talk. I just love it. Oh, so
but one thing I will say, and I think this has been picked up by a few of the royal Instagram accounts, is that now that the King and Queen Consort are under the umbrella of the royal family socials, the information isn't coming out as quick and as fast as it used to do when they were a part of Clarence House.
Yeah.
Because obviously now they have a new team, don't they?
They do. Possibly they're just finding their feet. It is a new way of working. For instance, if the King and Queen Consort brought over their people who were working on the Clarence House socials, they wouldn't necessarily need to deal with the Countess of Wessex or Princess Royal, but they're having to do that now. So yeah, I think it's going to take a bit of an adjustment period. We're going to move on, Rach. Did you hear this? For the 100th birthday of the BBC, the King will appear in a special episode of The Repair Shop. The Repair Shop!
We love The Repair Shop.
We love it. If you're listening internationally and do not know what The Repair Shop is, it's basically this really heartfelt program where you bring a beloved item, it's in disrepair, and it needs to be fixed. And people bring the most amazing things, don't they, Rach? Yeah. Now, this was filmed when Charles was Prince of Wales. The episode will see a piece of pottery made for Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee and an 18th century clock to be restored by the show's experts. We'll also see inside Dumfries House in Scotland. Now, this is really interesting, isn't it? Now, this is where His Majesty will give the show's host a tour of the grounds. I'm super excited about this.
I can't wait for this episode. I'm really excited to watch.
I cry at every episode. They're so sentimental. I wonder if I'm going to cry about Queen Victoria's pottery or whatever it was. What was it? Pottery? Oh my God, Jubilee.
So let's now move on to the Princess Royal. Shell. She presented an award to 007 himself.
Oh my goodness me. Oh, what an honour for 007.
She presented the actor Daniel Craig with the Order of St. Michael and St. George, which is actually the same honour held by his character James Bond.
Wow, that's amazing.
This was given to recognise Daniel Craig's contribution to film and theatre. And we also heard today that Anne and her husband, Sir Timothy Lawrence, will visit Uganda on a 4-day official visit from October the 25th to the 28th. And the focus will be on health, education and women's issues. So fingers crossed that we see a lot of these engagements on the Royal Social.
It's lovely, isn't it, that Sir Timothy Lawrence is going with her on this?
Yeah, it's great. I can't wait. I'm really excited, you know. Come on, Anne, let's see you out there, girl.
I mean, come on, she's probably going to do 20 things in an hour, isn't she? You know what Anne's like. Boom, 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 boom. She's gone. I love her. I love her. She's like the road runner of the royal family.
Yeah. So that's it for the Royal Roundup today. As we press record, an interview came out with the Duchess of Sussex with Variety magazine. So we put a sticker up over on our Instagram. Let us know what you thought, if you're going to read it, if you did read it, what you thought. Yeah, but we decided not to really talk about it because she doesn't really talk about the royals in it. She briefly mentions the Queen's passing. And she doesn't really, what is she promoting? Like, there isn't anything really for her to promote at the moment, is there?
Well, yeah, and if you're new here, you may not know one of the rules we have about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. And it is because they've asked for privacy when they were, doing any of their interviews with the Oprah interview, they specifically said, we're leaving the royal family because of the privacy issues. We like to honour that. However, if they do mention the royal family, then we cover it. But the fact that it was just opinions of how she felt with the passing of Queen Elizabeth, it just didn't feel right to cover it. So we just want to make that point now, so you don't feel like we've completely poo-pooed it. But we have read it, we have seen it, and we'll probably talk about it in the members call, but we're not going to talk about it in length here. Let's move on then, Rach, because we have the biggest thing to talk about, which is the crown coming up, and that is in the royal news for this week. So let's get going.
The crown.
The crown, Rach. Oh my goodness.
I know. We had 2 new official posters and some photos released from season 5. Now, the posters caused a bit of controversy within the royal community. One of them had the Queen, Diana and Charles, and it says a house divided. As we know, this season will be about Charles and Diana's separation and their divorce. Then obviously we're going to have the side with Camilla coming into it. We're going to have the Bashir interview. So many controversies. I posted this because we love The Crown, don't we?
We do love The Crown. Yeah. Remember, royal community, as we said before, it's not a documentary. We all know this as royal community fans. It's not a documentary. It's a drama based on historical events. It's not true. It's not true. They will dramatize. They're making up scripts. They're making up things that people said, unless it's an actual publicized speech that has been given and we can rewatch it on YouTube with the actual person doing it. Everything else is made up.
Yeah.
So... But you got a bit of stick over on Instagram.
I got a bit of backlash because I posted these on our main feed. I posted the posters and the photos. And what was really funny is before the official photos came out, I posted a photo of the actress that plays Diana, William and Harry. And I was just basically saying, so looking forward to series 5 coming out. And then lo and behold, few hours later, the official photos come out.
Yeah.
But I got backlash from this saying, how can you, as a royal fan, be excited about watching this season of The Crown, knowing what's going to be in this season and the topics that they're going to cover? Well, royal community, as we just said, I'm looking forward to it, to watch it as the brilliant drama that it is. Did people have their backs up when season 1 and 2 came out? No. The Queen and Prince Philip at that time were still alive, but nobody had issue with airing all of their dirty laundry as such on a show. I think because now we're coming up to, it is a very sensitive subject, isn't it? Diana's passing. It has been since she passed away 25 years ago. But I recognise it for the brilliant drama that it is, and I can't wait to see the show in its entirety, and obviously we'll let you know what we think, and I'll do some YouTube videos, won't we, on those episodes? We'll
be doing YouTube reviews, and also stay tuned to our YouTube channel because Rachel and I will be reviewing the trailer that is coming out for The Crown this week, so stay tuned on there. My thoughts about it is, I believe that the palace should really push Netflix to put a disclaimer. I've always said that. It should always have a disclaimer. This isn't factual, it's a drama. But people who are not royal fans do actually see it as verbatim. And I think that's why some of the royal community are really upset about it, Rach, because people will see this and we don't know in which light Charles or Diana or Camilla will be shown. Rach, Dominic West, who plays Charles, was in a program called The Affair. He is known for these affair type characters. They don't come across very well on screen. And that doesn't mean he's a bad actor, by the way. It's just that's the type of character that he portrays. I wonder how he's going to portray Charles. We also knew this was a super sensitive subject. It always will be. And remember, the King and the Queen Consort were also victims of phone hacking. And we don't know whether that will be brought in. And that is a super embarrassing conversation, isn't it? It is.
If you haven't heard this before,
honestly,
the conversation, it's so embarrassing, it's so cringy. So when you see this on the show, this isn't made up by the Netflix writers, this is an actual conversation.
Yeah, but also remember that conversation was leaked. That conversation was never ever supposed to be broadcast. Nobody else was supposed to hear that. I don't know about you, but we've now got in people's minds who are not royal fans, who don't know the history, who are not fans of the King and Queen Consort, we've already got them speculating whether they're racist, who was worried about Archie's skin colour. We still don't know who that is. Do you see what I mean? So people are already percolating and saying about that. Then we've got, he's had an affair. She said this, he did that. There's a lot of controversy around this. And what these posters deem to me is that Diana is the victim. And we both know, Rach, that there are two sides to every story. And that's not to say what happened to Diana was fair. It wasn't fair. But Diana also had her things. So to see her in the way in which the poster is portrayed, let's also, I'm going to just call it out now, Camilla being his partner was not in the institution's plans.
Yeah, if that relationship would have been able to happen at that time, if he had been able to marry Camilla, we wouldn't be talking about this now, would we?
No.
It would be a completely different story. And Diana would obviously have never been on the scene in the way that she was. And another thing that's interesting, Shell, there's always been rumours in the past, and they actually touched on this in series 2, that Prince Philip had affairs and the Queen kind of turned a blind eye to it. And this series is going to focus on Prince Philip's love of horse carriage driving. And one of the people that he became close to was Penny Natchable, and she actually went to Philip's funeral. And it's suggested that they are going to portray that Philip and Penny also had an affair in the series. So it's not just Charles and Camilla and Diana that are all coming under fire. It's Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip as well.
Will they be portraying Anne's divorce at this point as well?
I'm not too sure. I've not heard anything about that. I just think it will be interesting once we see the trailer, because at this point we haven't seen the trailer. But yeah, it's just one of those things. And I totally agree that Netflix really do need to put a disclaimer, because obviously at the moment, the royal family are in the forefront of people's minds because the Queen's just passed away. The King's only ascended to the throne just over a month ago now, isn't it?
Yeah. But Rach, this is prime time for them to actually plug this.
Oh, absolutely.
So they're not going to hold back. I was always a bit iffy about them covering this, not because I love the King and Queen Consort and I don't want anything bad said about them. That happened, and everyone knows it. It's not a secret, but does it need to be done? Do we need to rehash, something that happened 30 years ago? Plus, we also have to remember that Prince George, Charlotte, and Louis, they're all in school. They're all in that age where, maybe not Louis, but they're in that age where people talk. The crown's a big thing, isn't it? They're going to have people talking about, your granddad did this and whatever. That's just mortifying.
Yeah, and I think this will be quite damaging in a way because, like you said, a lot of people that aren't necessarily royal fans or they don't know much about the story will watch this show. And like you said, they'll believe exactly what's being portrayed in the show without doing the research. And we actually did an episode. We broke down season 1 of The Crown, didn't we? And we actually stated what was fact and what was fiction. And we looked at all the stories that was portrayed in that season. And we actually researched it ourselves. What did actually happen? How true is this portrayal? Because at that point, we obviously weren't around, we weren't alive. So we don't actually have any of our own thoughts and opinions about these events because we wasn't around for them. But I think that's why now, especially with the whole Charles, Diana and Camilla triangle, it is more controversial because we was alive in that moment in time.
Yeah.
I remember watching Diana's funeral. I remember watching the Bashir interview.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, Shell, the Bashir interview.
I can't believe they've put that in.
Well, as we know, after William Harry deemed after that investigation that the BBC never showed the interview again, which they've agreed to, but that doesn't stop other people from dramatising it, which is exactly what The Crown is going to be doing.
Yeah. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they will put a little thing at the end to say that this was misleading for Diana and she would not have done that interview if she had all the information.
No,
she would never have
not.
done that. But I think it's so important to really hone in on the fact that Charles and Camilla had an affair, but it was always Camilla. It was always Camilla. It's just the institution got involved and said, you can't be with Camilla. But the problem people have is the fact that Charles would be at that time, but is now, he is one down from God. He's going to be anointed with the holy oil. How holy can you be if you've had an affair, which is one of the things that you're not supposed to do as a Christian?
Hello, Henry VIII.
But that's the reason why we got the Church of England. So, yeah, do you see what I mean? It's a really fine line. It splits people right down the middle, even royal fans, because this is very emotive and we all have an opinion because we all have lived experience of it, which we've never done before when we've been watching The Crown, unless obviously you're the age of the Queen. You know, it's one of those things, right, where everyone's going to have a view and we welcome different views on our own.
And I think, you know, for me, I didn't have people personally attacking me, but I am a royal fan. Just because I like a show called The Crown and it is about the royal family doesn't make me a bad person just because I like this drama.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the Marie Antoinette show. Do I think that's going to be historically accurate? No, it isn't. It's totally not. But am I excited and I'm going to eat everything up that comes out of that show? Absolutely.
Are you going to eat cake, Rach?
She did not say that, Shell. She did not say that.
But the one thing I will say, but bear in mind, royal community, Rachel has a love affair with Marie Antoinette. As we move forward, one thing I will say is, I think that the actual issue here with royal fans in particular is why would we support a program that could potentially harm the institution or the royals that are so needing our support right now? But we don't know yet. We haven't watched it, but the posters really look damning, don't they?
Yeah, they really do. Like, I can't deny that, but I'm still going to gobble everything up to do with The Crown. I can't deny it.
Yeah. Well, that's what we think, royal community. What do you think? Come on over to Instagram, let us know. Keeping Up with the Windsors Pod. You can also email us, keepingupwiththewindsorspod@gmail.com.
Don't forget, you can also support us on Ko-fi, Kofi. You can support Shell and I by buying us a cup of coffee. It's £4/$6. And that really just helps to support the podcast.
Absolutely. Please feel free to share with anyone else who loves the royals just as much as we do. We also have a YouTube channel, Keeping Up with the Windsors. And you know what, royal community? Thank you so much for being here and listening. We have our amazing royal community spotlight coming up for you next week. We are so excited, like super excited.
So excited.
Thank you so much for listening. And we will see you next week on Keeping Up with the Windsors.